What's up, All Day Fam? We are back for another all day segment of Thursday Night Football. It's kicking off tonight. And we have, I apologize if my voice sounds a little weird. I'm a little bit under the weather, and so I've been drinking tea and stuff. And it's for me to get rid of this mild sickness. But I'm okay, and we're going to keep these videos no matter what. So we got the Seattle Seahawks and the Chicago Bears. So the Seahawks, I believe, we're going to Chicago. Seattle's going to Chicago. And both teams' offenses has been struggling significantly. Surprisingly, the Bears has definitely been struggling. So let's see here. Anything I want to go over. So let's see. Neither team has scored more than 26 points in their last 4 games. The Seahawks have scored 24 or fewer points in 2 games this season. And while the Bears have scored 24 or fewer points in 12 games and have not reached 20 points in nearly a month. So that's bad. Chicago in its just talk about that. And so against Minnesota's 14th ranked defense, the Seahawks managed 361 total yards of offense, led by quarterback Geno Smith. He had completed 31 of 43 passes for 314 yards and 3 TDs, with 2 picks for a 96.5 rating, but he managed just 24 points. Wide receiver Jackson Smith-Njigba caught 8 passes for 95 yards and 1 score. For the season, the Seahawks have the 14th best offensive, averaging 300. Has the 14th best offense, averaging 336.4 total yards and a 15th best, 22.6 points per game. So their offense is slightly a little better than Chicago, which is surprising because Chicago, I believe Chicago has the better quarterback. They have the more talented wide receivers. But again, I think we all know that Chicago is suffering from coaching. Chicago struggled scoring points against the NFC-leading Detroit Lions on Sunday due to 2 fumbles. The Bears have the second worst offense, averaging 295.7 yards per game, and are 27th in scoring at 18.9 points per game. Rookie quarterback Caleb Williams completed 26 of 40 passes for 334 yards and 2 touchdowns with no INTs in Sunday's loss. His top target, Keenan Allen, who had 9 receptions for 141 yards and a score, he pretty much was eating majority of those stats. Let's see. So Caleb Williams, I still refuse to say Caleb Williams is struggling or he's playing bad this year. I refuse to say that. I believe that if the Bears had a winning record, that a lot of people wouldn't be too hard on Caleb Williams. Actually, I'm wrong because the Bears were winning earlier this year and people were still knocking Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is the type of talent. He's the type of quarterback that if he is not performing well, people are going to find every small little thing in his game to knock him. Not even if he's not playing well. That with the type of talent and the type of player that he is, and the type of influence that he has, people are going to nitpick every single small thing about Caleb Williams. I mean, this is the same thing they did with Tom Brady, and the same thing they do about Patrick Mahomes. Some people, if they don't like a type of quarterback, or they don't like mainly a type of quarterback or a type of team or a type of head coach, I have noticed this pattern that people are going to find every small thing to knock this coach, team, or quarterback on because they're just hateful about this hating on this player, which is really stupid and dumb and very annoying, but that's how fans are, and the media does it as well. The media they don't knock a player they don't like as much, but what they do is a player that they do love, regardless of how good this player really is or how they're performing on the field, what they would do is they will ride along with this player's potential and ride along to the sunset no matter really what this player is doing on the field. If this player really isn't producing as good, the media will ride along until they can't ride along with it anymore. Like how they just rode along with Trevor Lawrence for a long time. Now they're not really on Trevor Lawrence because it's just completely blatantly on it, obviously, that how terrible of a quarterback Trevor Lawrence is. But Trevor Lawrence, he had to pretty much be fighting for his starting job for next year, going into the 2025 season of next year against Mac Jones, for everybody to be like, okay, Trevor Lawrence, he's not it. Trevor Lawrence has never, ever, that I have ever seen play a game that made me felt that he was a good quarterback. I've never even thought that Trevor Lawrence was a good quarterback. I honestly always thought that he was extremely overrated, and I always knew that he was not going to be a good quarterback. He's never done anything with my eyes, on two eyes, that I've seen, that he has never done anything to make me feel that he was going to be at least good. I just thought he was extremely overrated. He's been overrated since his freshman year coming out of college. He's been overrated since high school, coming out of high school. Trevor Lawrence has just been significantly overrated. And I think that's probably the problem, that sometimes we can really overrate these players and say that they're going to be something, and maybe they could, but we pressure on it way too hard and way too much, and we're actually in this, and obviously the player hears it, and if the player isn't as critical of himself as he should be on his game, if he's not obsessed, like not working hard, not a diligent player, not a diligent player or athlete that's really working intensely hard to improve his game, if he's not an obsessed player to get better, especially at the quarterback position, I believe that when we overrate these players, that it's going to hurt them in the long run. Some of these players, especially if they're not obsessed. I honestly believe that you have to be an obsessed athlete, an obsessed player, an obsessed football player, for you to become elite, for you to become a Hall of Famer, for you to become one of the greatest of all time. I honestly believe you have to be obsessed. That's my opinion, and I will always believe that. Or at least be amongst one of the greatest of all time. Maybe you don't have to be obsessed to be a Hall of Famer, maybe, because there are some players that I listen to on these commentaries, and I can just tell they probably weren't obsessed, but they did work hard and they were extremely talented, and they became Hall of Famers, but they become one of the greatest of all time in like top 5 or 10 in your position, of all time, not in your era, not in your era or not in that day. I mean, of all time, 5, 10, I believe you literally have to be obsessed. And, that's how I was when I played football. I obviously have never played in college or in the NFL. I played in a minor pro indoor league, but I was obsessed. And I know, speaking from experience, because I didn't really understand the game when I first started playing, so I was really far behind. And I didn't understand football. I was not developed, but I trained really intensely hard for 10 years. I never had film, so it was really hard for me to be able to get a shot in football, especially in college, because I was so far behind. But I know when I started playing in a pro indoor league, arena league, there were guys who played D1 ball, playing all their life, and guys who were kind of washed up at players in the NFL that were on this team or in this league, and me, who just pretty much never really played who never really played in the game, like actual game, never got film, because I'm still trying to catch up, but when I actually started getting my shot in a pro indoor league, I started really doing my own, like holding my own against these guys who's played all their life, or who was D1 players and who were washed up NFL players, and so it really was only because of how obsessed I was at the game and how I was really slowly improving. Now, I started doing these intense, like obsessive training like sessions when I turned maybe 17 or 18 years old, when I graduated from high school, and I had more time on my hands to do this. So what I did was, it wasn't as smart, because all I did was just train. I didn't really focus on how I can get the paperwork done on playing collegiate ball, trying to get through the clearinghouse, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All I did was just train, and I just did that. I was completely obsessed with just doing that. I didn't do anything else. Anything outside of me just training, I didn't partake in it, and that was where I messed up at. But also, it was kind of hard too because I never had film too. So, but if I'm pretty much sure if I did have film, that it didn't matter if I didn't take care of the paperwork. I would have film. Some colleges would have wanted me. They would have found a way of me getting on their team, getting onto their program. They would have figured it out, But I didn't have any film, so that was the knock on me. But the moral of the story is that I honestly believe, speaking from experience, that so I can only imagine that, like, if a player who has played all their life, or at a young age, has to film, and they were obsessed as me, or have that type of obsessed mentality like Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan or somebody like that, Jerry Rice, somebody like that, Tom Brady, and Terrell Owens, that obsessive, bloodthirsty attitude, mentality, that you're going to be the best of all time, the greatest of all time, that you do that you're going to be top 5, top 10. And so I say all that to say that I can't remember more like the main point of what I was making, because that was a long story, but it does kind of go back to what I mean about Caleb Williams. I think that Caleb Williams is that type of player. I think that he is his worst critic. I do believe that he will prevail and get better, and I don't think that he was as bad as people think he is. I just honestly think that me, I will take the blame. I think people like me, we probably did a little bit too much on Caleb Williams. I had these unrealistic expectations on Caleb Williams, saying what he was going to do, talking about he was going to go to the Super Bowl, and the only reason why he wasn't going to win the Super Bowl because Justin Herbert was going to beat him, and if it wasn't for Justin Herbert, if Justin Herbert never existed, it was going to be Caleb Williams. I will even tell you guys this. I even was telling my friend, I was a PA for this show called Shrinkings, and for this Apple TV show called Shrinkings, and I was telling my friend who I was working with, I told him, I said, oh yeah, for the next 20 years that Caleb Williams and Justin Herbert, they're going to go back and forth winning Super Bowls. And Caleb Williams is going to win 10 of them. Justin Herbert's going to win 10 of them. Nobody else in the league's going to win them. I deep down inside didn't really believe that, but I kind of thought that there might be a possibility that could happen. So I know I can say stuff like that. That's ridiculous, but I do it for all fun and games. But I also be like, is it a possibility? If I'm right, how much credibility I'll get. No, because nobody in the world will ever think that, So it's all fun and games, and sometimes I don't really mind being wrong when I'm talking about football. It's all predictions. It's all gambling at the end of the day, because I can talk X's and O's. I study the game, so and I coach the game, so so sometimes I will come up with those crazy predictions because football is very unpredictable anyway. So it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. I like doing those crazy predictions because it's fun. And I don't mind admitting when I'm wrong and changing up like I did this year. This season, the Bears obviously are not going to go to the Super Bowl. They're not in the playoffs, and I picked my predictions. I think that the Vikings are going to go. And I had earlier this year. I did an earlier video. And me and this coach, we did our predictions earlier this year before the season started. And he said, I forgot who his main team was, but his sleeper was the Vikings. So he said the Vikings was going to go. I can't remember who he said when the AFC was going to go. I think he said it was going to be the Chiefs and the Chiefs and some other NFC team. But he had a sleeper if that NFC team wasn't going to go, and that sleeper was the Vikings. You have to go back into our later videos. It's just Super Bowl predictions, and you'll see me and my friend, the coach, on the thumbnail. But yeah, I originally said it was going to be the Chargers and the Bears. But I really agreed. I did definitely agree with him about the Vikings. I was like, yes, fight on. If Caleb Williams can't get the job done, another EOC quarterback will get the job done. Sam Darnold, I'm right along with you. The Minnesota Vikings. For me, I can't remember who his NFC team was. I think he said the Lions. I was like, if the Bears don't go, then it'll be the Vikings. But yeah, so I had already updated my NFC Super Bowl team, from the Bears to the Vikings now, and I'm sticking with the Chargers. I don't want to bother looking into a updated AFC team if the Chargers don't go. If the Chargers don't go, then on that video I will update it. I will actually do a single-handedly video on the Chargers losing. I won't speak that into existence. On the Chargers not going, and who will be my updated team. So I'll do a second video on that. If which is not going to happen if somehow it does happen, if divine intervention happens. So, yeah. So, oh yeah, let me go ahead and give you guys my Thursday night football predictions. So, who is going to win tonight? I hope this game is better than what I think it's going to be. You know, we got two teams that are struggling offensively, and either team can really win this game, but the Seahawks really needs to win this game. They cannot afford to lose this game against Chicago. I think the Seahawks is going to win this game. I believe they will. I'm going to say that the Seahawks is going to win this game 19-10. So I'll say the Seattle Seahawks 19, the Chicago Bears 10. Actually, I'll say 12. No, I'll say 19-17. Seattle 19, Chicago 17. Chicago 17. I'll say that. Okay, I'll say that. All right. So I thank you so much for watching, and like, comment, share, subscribe. I appreciate you all for your support, for your help, for your patience. I have not done my night caps. For last night's game, and I have not even done my recap for the Week 16 season week. But I will get those in for you. I'll get those in for you before Sunday. Really, I'm gonna work on getting them in for you tonight. But tonight I'm gonna get that Thursday night cap in for you. And yeah, I wait for the holidays, and so I'm in New York City right now, and so I'm in Airbnb right now. So spending time enjoying my family. But y'all my fam too. Y'all my all day fam too, man. I want this all day fam to be bigger than life. So I enjoy networking with y'all and pushing out valuable, meaningful, high quality football content. Anything that deals with football, I dream of putting it on this platform, on this channel. Football is a huge sport, and there's a lot of in-depth emotions and a lot of things and stories, compelling stories that revolves around this sport. That's what makes the sport really great. By its own, the sport is already a great sport by itself, but there's so much stuff that revolves around it. It's reality TV, and it just makes it so phenomenal. All the stories revolving around college ball and the NFL. So it's just going to keep getting better and better and better. So this sport really changed my life, and it's still changing my life for the better. I mean, there's so many ways you can make money off this sport. You don't have to really necessarily play to make a lot of money off this sport, obviously. So yeah, and if you guys love and are as passionate and obsessed with football and sport as much as I am, do a channel. We can collaborate. Do a channel. If you don't think you can coach, or if you don't think, if you're too young, if you don't think you can play, but if you really just love the sport and you're a productive individual, open up a channel. Get into writing. Write some articles on this channel. Post them on LinkedIn Next. It's so simple, and being consistent with that in time. Just talking about football. That's what they all do. Analysts, commentators, they make all these millions of dollars by just talking about football. It's awesome. Some of them don't know what they're talking about. Some never play the game, never coach, and they get paid millions of dollars talking about football. They have to break down the body, they have to look at concussions, brain damage, brain rot, or even the other guys. Just talking about it. Anybody can do it. I feel like anybody can do it. It's just how much you apply yourself. So, first a business plan. So I'm getting kind of off, so